As storytellers, we have to be authentic. I mean, the whole debate in the national news now, the whole debate in media and storytelling is about sincerity and about authenticity. So in our storytelling, being authentic, telling us the truth as you see it, and making us care. That's the center tenets of good storytelling. Your point of view, showing us your truth, is crucial. The flag raising on Iwo Jima, we know that famous photo. There were 4 photographers on top of the hill on Iwo Jima that day. Lou Lowry took this picture. Bob Campbell took this picture. There was another film photographer shooting 16 millimeter. And finally, Joe Rosenthal took that picture. 3 of the pictures in the video are incidental. They look like news photos. One is an iconic national emblem that the nation rallied around. That's his point of view. He shot with film, by the way. He didn't see this picture. It went off to Guam to be processed, and the editor for Associated Press saw it and said, oh, this has to go to the White House. This is terrific. So the photographer didn't even see the finished picture till weeks later. So those images are crucially important. It's his point of view. Alfred Hitchcock did a film called Lifeboat, and the whole film takes place on a lifeboat. The ship sinks in the opening scene, and yet he's able to show us hope and optimism and despair and romance and all these things just with 7 or 8 people on a lifeboat. It's extraordinary. So it's not about budget, it's not about size or scale, it's about engagement and about using what you have to tell that story. Building worlds, we're in the transportation business. Look at this pre-Raphaelite painting by Waterhouse. 1888, I want to go there. I'm transported by that painting. It tells me a story. I want to know that character. I love that character. Here's Neuschwanstein Castle in Bavaria. Walt Disney's animators were thrilled by this castle, and they used it liberally in Sleeping Beauty's castle in Disneyland, transporting us to other places. This is Walt Disney at Disneyland, except it's not. It's Walt Disney at Tivoli Gardens in Copenhagen, which has a pirate ship and has fireworks every night. And Walt loved it there and used that as inspiration for his theme park in Anaheim. So that kind of world building and inspiration can come from anywhere. It's also good to draw on our mental real estate. Just as we draw on archetypes for characters, we know immediately what things are by the looks of them. This is clearly Africa. It's not Africa. It's a bunch of guys with hoop skirts and plastic grass on their head. But when Julie Taymor does this on stage, you're transported to Africa and you believe it. You're totally invested in that because it uses your subconscious recollection of what Africa should be. And the symbols for Africa are all there. Painters do it. N.C. Wyeth uses us to engage us physically. We know it's hot and it's noontime because the shadow's right underneath the horse, or it's cool and late in the afternoon. And that kind of play of warm and cool engages us physically and engages our senses. And again, with VR and AR and things like that, you can really engage even more emotionally and physically using those kinds of tools. This is the story, the color script for The Incredibles. And holding back on some colors, like they don't spend the color red until about 5 lines down. So you're holding back and giving the audience cool colors, cool colors, cool colors. And then when the red comes, it's even redder because you've held that back and you've spent that color at a crucial storytelling moment. So how do we begin? Inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just show up and get to work. There's this thing about writer's block. There's this thing about like, oh, we have to wait until we get the perfect idea for our business plan or for our content. And it doesn't work that way, Chuck Close, the painter, says. And I say too, it's about the work. The good work comes through the process of getting started. If you're waiting for inspiration, that's kind of an amateur's approach to storytelling. Dive in and make mistakes. It's all about the ideas. So get them out quickly, be fast and messy, stop thinking and start doing. And look at this mess. You would never think this is a useful document at all, except it's Dickens' Christmas Carol. So you think, well, how can I do that? And that's by not worrying about it, not worrying about the content or how you get it down. Just get the ideas down quickly and out of your head, like Hemingway did, or like this slob did. This is Beethoven. Or this poor girl, she wrote on the back of envelopes, and it was pretty incidental, and she stuffed them in her desk drawer, and they weren't really discovered until she was dead, Emily Dickinson. The ideas are what's important, not how you get them down. Frank Gehry's sketch of the Walt Disney Concert Hall, add $250 million, and you get this. But the essence of it is the same. The swoop and the shape of the sails, it's not that different when you think about it. Pete Docter's drawing of the characters from Monsters Incorporated. It's a circle and a rectangle, and you know, it's still a circle and a rectangle. It's simple. The underlying shapes and content is simple. Finally, I want to talk about creative collaboration. The idea that none of us is as good as all of us. That's a Ray Kroc quote from the founder of McDonald's, Ray Kroc. We like to think of creative collaboration like this, but you know, it's really not. And in fact, there's something wrong if your creative collaboration looks like this. It should look like this. Because creative collaboration with a group of people, yes, it needs leadership, yes, there's directors and producers, but it really needs chaos. It needs something that's constantly changing, is chaotic, improvisational, messy, disappointing, constructive, destructive, iterative, thrilling. Story is the currency of our humanity. It's how we communicate what it is to be human. And storytelling is the artifact of the human journey. The human journey is chaotic, and our process is chaotic. I love this ad campaign from the Berlin Philharmonic. They had everybody in the orchestra go through and design one-sheets and posters for each player, and then they put them together into this ad campaign, which was 128 stars, one orchestra. And it says everything to me about the collaborative nature of it, each contributing their own sound to that final orchestra, which returns us to this. 30,000 years ago, this person, which I think was a woman actually, and putting her hand up on the wall. Again, Kurt Vonnegut saying human beings will be happier when they find ways to inhabit primitive communities, when they find ways to tell deep, meaningful, authentic stories. So tell us your story. Show us what it's like for you to be here, to be alive, to be human, to be you. And the coolest thing about these handprints on this cave wall is they're not solitary. They're up on the cave wall with hundreds and hundreds of other handprints, each crying out to tell their own story. And that's what we're here for today. Thank you.